victory. We're going to talk about that, some stuff around college football, and everything else. All that here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please like, subscribe. If you're listening, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Just go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. So, on today's episode of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, we start things a little late, but we're going to have some fun tonight. So, we'll talk about the SMU game. We'll dive into the offense and defensive thoughts. Of course, we've got special guests. We're going to talk about games around college football because, yeah, it was actually a solid weekend. So we'll dive right into that. Let me bring my special guest on. We've got the collective in. We got PG and we got Chris. What's going on, gentlemen? How are you?
Right, man. Y'all already know. Big win for the boys last night, but y'all already know what it is. Y'all already know exactly what it is.
He immediately had to throw it up for everybody.
Hey, Oklahoma played good last night. Hot take.
Can you say that for is that like a legitimate thing that you can say? I mean, is that okay?
Looks like Jay is a little messed up down there. That's okay. I can pick it up for him while he fixes it. Is he just messed up for me?
Who? What do you mean? PG, can you hear us? All right, Chris.
Yeah,
PG's having problems, so
yeah,
we'll
you're
let
here.
PG.
I hear you. I don't hear Jay. I don't think he hears us.
I can hear everybody. PG, Chris, can you hear me?
Maybe
I can hear you. PG, I think. Hey, PG, just go back. Come back.
Yeah, I think it's PG. So anyway, everybody's in the comment section. You know, we're gonna jump into everything. PG jumped out. We'll get him to come right back in just a moment. So yeah, we'll work on that. What's going on, Chris, man? How's the life treating you?
Man, everything is great, man. Ready for another week. Ready to breeze through this Monday through Thursday. Get to Friday off at 12. And Saturday, you already know what's going down with that. I cannot wait, man. 2:30 on Friday. On Saturday. It's going down. Just ready to get to another football weekend.
Yeah, we're going to have a pretty solid one, so I'm actually pretty excited about that game. PG, man, let the people know where they can find you, and then Chris do the same, and we're going to jump right into the games.
Yeah, listen, if y'all haven't checked me out already, you guys need to hop over to YouTube, watch some of my videos. We do lots of interviews with recruits and players, OU football primarily, but we're covering some other schools as well. And then additionally, you can find me on any of the podcast platforms, wherever you find podcasts, so...
Exactly.
Love to hear it. Chris, let the people know where to find you.
Hey, look, the Horns Down Pod on Twitter, Chris with an _K on Twitter. Find us on YouTube, Horns Down Podcast. It's going down. We're back in action. Hey, we're doing shows on Thursdays, and we're doing post-game reaction videos as well. So definitely check out the content. As always, like, follow, subscribe, do all of that to all 3 channels. Definitely helps us out.
Exactly. So, ladies and gents, let's dive right into the first topic of discussion. Let's talk about this SMU game. And so, of course, I dropped my morning after we discussed kind of our thoughts around how the game was. And I'll keep it honest. I think we were fine. We weren't as exciting as we would have liked, like in Arkansas State, but we also didn't play a team like Arkansas State. I've mentioned it. I'm going to keep saying this ad nauseum, guys. We might be SMU's only loss this season up until the AAC championship game. So if SMU wins 10 games this season, do not be surprised because they kind of got a good team. The way they brought in transfers, they got a solid squad. So let's go around with everybody's initial thoughts, and we'll talk about offense, and then we'll talk about defense. So, Chris, tell the people, how would you feel about the game now that you've slept on it?
Mm-hmm. Now that I slept on it, I kind of go back to what we said last night. It just wasn't complimentary football. I think this is a squad that has a coaching staff and vice versa that can literally go out there and win the Big 12 championship, if not make the college football playoff. The talent is there. Defensively, I thought that you were tough again. They were getting the ball out of their hands very quickly. It's a lot of max protect, a lot of stuff like that. So you're not if you would have told us that we would have held this team to 11 points, I would have thought we would beat them by at least 40 or so. So that's just kind of my thoughts about it. It wasn't complimentary football simply because just the play calling just wasn't there last night. And like I told you, it's not necessarily a thing of not keeping the vanilla. That's perfectly fine. But when you're not doing the things that you're used to seeing, at least that we're not used to, that we're used to seeing, the screen actions, the jet sweeps, different things like that. When you're just going in a tight formation, and these guys are loading the box. When you're going out there setting five wide and just basically telegraphing that it's going to be a quarterback power or quarterback blast, it just doesn't make any sense to me. The play calling was kind of baffling last night on Levy's part, but all in all, we got the win. Winning is hard. But I do love what I've seen from the defense. Things to clean up are honestly just communication pre-snap. That's where some of those big yardage throws that they got. I mean, Preston Stone was throwing off his back foot the entire night. So
Right.
not necessarily mad at that. We were getting hurries, we were getting pressures, we were getting basically home. But on defense, you see Harrington, Bowman.
Oh, we'll dive deep into the defense and offense in a second. More
Yeah,
so
go ahead,
initial
go ahead.
reaction. So we'll dive into that deep. PG, what's your thoughts on it? After you slept on it, how'd you feel about the game?
I mean, I feel the same way. I mean, this was one of the best defensive performances I feel like we've seen from Oklahoma in a long, long time. And I think they held right up to it. I said Oklahoma needed to keep them to 250 pass yards. And if you could keep them 100 or less, you feel really good about what the defense did. And Preston Stone had 250 pass yards, and they had 117 rushing yards. So they were right there. I get it. It wasn't the outcome of the score we wanted, but hey, you know what? Sometimes you got to get in those defensive battles, and I was glad to see Oklahoma win a defensive battle.
That makes sense. And we're going to add another person on. Coop, what it do, man? He done made his valiant return to the show. We're talking about, give me your initial thoughts. Now that you've slept on it, how'd you feel about the game? How'd you feel about us after you slept on this game?
Yeah, the overall, you get all these details before the game, and you ask, what happened? Why can't we, score more on offense? But you're totally stoked about the defense side of the ball, right? And the first week you had a lot of drops, and you had a lot of guys running wide open, and it just not making it. I mean, it's just not working. This week you saw our defense actually make plays, and you saw the people flock to the ball. You still, hope to God that there's a little bit more from a pass rush, perspective to come out at some point. But all in all, when's the last time that we have combined, in any two games in any season that you can remember to give up 11 points in two games total? That's a tight ask, and so. I saw a lot of people say that, ugly wins in September look beautiful in December. And, I'm going to roll with that for right now. You see a lot of really, really good things happening.
That's good stuff. Okay. Of course, y'all know my initial thoughts. I gave my morning after I thought about it. I watched the game a couple more times, and now I kind of understand what's going down. And, yeah, I think it was fine. We held a team that has been a top 15 scoring offense the last, 6 years to their lowest point outcome since 2017.
That was an interesting stat when I saw
that. I'm going to go ahead and hang our hat on that one. And we're seeing what all of y'all have asked for is a defensive output that is good. And we look good. So let's talk about, let's go around the horn. Let's talk about offense. How y'all felt about our offensive play? I'll lead off real quick thought that I have on the offense. Gabriel did his job. He did what Levy wanted him. I was not happy fully with the way Levy called this game, but I also have questions as to why he did it. And there's probably a reason why he did the game the way he did, why we were so vanilla. It probably makes sense. Besides that, the game was all right on the offensive side. I would like more points, but SMU doesn't have a bad defense, and they played too deep the entire time. So Chris, go ahead and let us know what's your thoughts on the offense.
Like I said, to me, they didn't compliment the defense at all. I mean, it sound like a broken record, but I kept telling you last night, it's not that you can keep it vanilla and all the rest of the stuff. That's all fine, but it's just the way that you go about it. I felt like the play calling didn't put any player in a position to really go and do what they normally do until the second half, in my opinion. I still think there's some lulls. I think clock management is a problem. I think that we're going too fast at sometimes. We're not. It's just kind of, it was all over the place last night, in my honest opinion.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll go with the same thing. In my rewatch, you see that they're bailing out and the two deep. Like you didn't see anything, any creativity. Taking a shots downfield. I mean, unless I'm mistaken, guys, I don't remember one time that he really wound up and just chucked it. And you got pass interferences and completions last week, so it's 2 weeks into the season, so I'm not going to lose it all the way. Again, you cover the spread. You look good on defense. Unfortunately, there's a couple things that Brent Venables needs to be having conversations with Levy about, and but that's it. There's SMU. You heard it on the telecast. I mean, this is going to be a team that you're going to look up and realize that this is a much better team than we all anticipated, and they're going to be pushing 8, 9, 10 wins again, and so. Just keep it coming, improve. You found out what you got, get better in practice this week, and on to Tulsa.
We're on to Tulsa. PG, offense. What you feel? What jumped out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand, or at least I kind of feel like I understand why Levy is calling the game as vanilla as he is. And I feel like the reason why is you need to understand what you have at running back 3 and 4. I know you kind of know what you have with Sawchuk and Barnes, but what do you have in Walker and what do you have in Major throughout the duration of the game? And I think that's what they're trying to figure out. They're trying to figure out exactly, what this run game looks like with maybe those two taking the helm. I mean, you saw it. As soon as they went to go pass the ball, they were able to do what they wanted to. And so I feel like they know they can do what they want to with the pass the ball. So they're just trying to figure out this run game and kind of get a solid idea before they head into conference play of who's going to be running back 3, who's going to be running back 4 in case Sawchuk or Barnes goes down. And maybe this is a thing where Barnes or Sawchuk are not as healthy as we think they are. And so they're trying to ramp up some of these other guys in case they're not ready to go for conference play.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. My camera decided to act weird just now, so I'm going to have to unplug it and plug it back in. So we'll let y'all continue this conversation without me. But before that, Stink Ass Cat, thanks for the $100. We appreciate the support. A voice of reason. There's definitely a reason. I appreciate that. There is, and that's always been my thought. There's a reason why he did it. We just got to, unfortunately, we're not privy to the behind the scenes stuff, so we'll find out what that looks like. So I'm going to go around the horn. Coop, you lead the way. We'll go with defense and what y'all thoughts on the defense. Pass it to Chris and then PG. I'll be right back.
You got to see some depth, and not just we're playing nobody state from and they've had their souls ripped from their body, but you saw. I mean, Kip Lewis looks like a playmaker. That guy, I grow more and more and more enamored with him every single game. He is that dude. Kanai Walker, he has to come in after Gentry gets hurt. Kanai comes in. He did give up a little something, but this defense continues to fly towards the ball. And you see Topher, you see that competitive depth. You see it coming through. And when it comes through, it's beautiful, right? You saw Peyton Bowen making plays. You saw PJ in on some stuff. And, I think that Pro Football Focus had, Peyton was in, around 50 plays. And you can tell the difference between a player who just, knows, quote unquote, responsibilities. And we won't bring up names from the past. And then dudes who are coming in and just earning their cheddar every single game. Woody also looked like a dude, too. I don't know if you guys really caught on to that, but I mean, he was flying around, and you can't. My swan song here is Stutzman. I think he was a little ticked off that he only got 4 tackles in that first game. So dude had some makeup ground to hit him, and it's going to be that. Dude also got his car towed during the game. So
Yeah.
20 tackles, probably Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year or of the week, and walked out to an empty parking spot. So get that GoFundMe. Hopefully, it's not so much the money in getting that. It's that process. Have you guys ever been towed in Norman or in Stillwater during game day? It is a bitch to get your car out of the tow. I got towed and this during a game one day, and I had to stand behind Chris Chester because he also got towed, and that was when he was on the team. And so I got to hang out with Chris for a long time. We swapped numbers. It was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, Stutzman was a baller.
No. So I'll jump in there. I think that now I'll kind of piggyback off of what you said. You named some good guys. Obviously, Peyton Bowen. I think that he is him and Pearson. What they've added to that room is just great. But two guys that I would say when, and I think there's a third guy that's going to fit this mold as well. But when these two guys are playing well, this defense is going to be great. And those two guys for me would be Key Lawrence and Justin Harrington.
Yeah.
I know everybody wants to make Justin Harrington out to be this redemption story and all the rest of this stuff. I still look at him the same way I did once we got him committed to us. This is the Justin Harrington we all talked about coming from JUCO. Guy was a JUCO All-American for a reason. Key Lawrence, all the intangibles. Last night, that strip fumble, a thing of
Yeah.
beauty. That doesn't happen last year. You see him coming up and run support. You're seeing him be more consistent. So my thing is that those two, and especially when you get McCullough back, and McCullough is causing hell too, that's whenever our defense can turn up a notch because those three out there on the field, along with a guy like Peyton Bowen, along with Billy Bowman, those guys can make some special plays in that secondary, especially when you're getting a pass rush. Last night, I mean, that's kind of the question. My uncle and I were talking today, and we are like, how many teams are going to max protect against us the entire game? Maybe every team this year, except for Texas, will play us straight up. But most teams are going to do that. But at the same time, it limits the options of the offense because they're only being able to run out there with two, sometimes maybe three wide receivers, but they're mostly going with two
Yeah.
wide receivers and having to run that running back out as an out route or a wheel route or something. The last thing that I'll say before I pass it to PG is simply this right here. You just feel that defensively, we may be more disciplined this year. Last year, those wheel routes that they were running last night, those are 30, 40-yard gains on us all of last year.
100%.
This year, you're seeing guys run with them. Like I said, it's just you got to know coming out of the huddle when you're playing against these teams who are no huddle teams. You got to get back. It's no time for celebrating. You got to be able to communicate so everybody's on the same page because that's where we kind of dropped the ball a little bit on the back end as far as some of those big plays that he was able to get simply because guys were trying to communicate. By the time that they were finished communicating, ball was already snapped. So that was something that I would like to see us be able to get aligned quicker on those snaps. But overall, man, I thought we were fine. Like I said, we faced another offense that yet again wanted to get the ball out of their hands very quickly, sitting there in those max protects, using that H back as well as an extra blocker. So I mean, it's just one of those things where the pass rush is there. You saw it. We just got to still be able to get home. We're good enough to still be able to get home whenever they're leaving more guys back there to block.
That makes sense. PG.
Yeah, so for the defense, I thought this was the best performance I've seen from them at least in the past 4 years. I mean, this defense played.
PG, you're kind of low, buddy. Did something just did your mic turn off?
No, but is that better?
There we go. There we go. I don't know what
All
happened.
right, all right, all right. Hey, listen, StreamYard, all of those ones, they all want your mic to be at different levels, so you always got to change it around. But defense, so no, I think this is one of the best defensive performances I felt like I've seen out of Oklahoma in a long, long time, at least in the last 4 years. I don't feel like you see this same turnout with Lincoln Riley or last year. So that was really encouraging to see just all the guys, like everybody said, fly around the ball. One of the things that I really noticed was, again, how many people were played. So last week we saw 29. This week we saw 26 defensive players. Now, I am curious to see what this looks like when, maybe if they play Wagner again or a little bit more, when McCullough comes back. Like, how many of these guys continue to see playing time, when you get some of your aces back. But the competitive depth is there, and I feel like we're really starting to see it now in the second game, because the first game I was like, all right, well, we played Arkansas State. We were up 73-0, so of course you played 29 guys. Well,
Right.
you play a little bit tighter of a game, and you saw them constantly cycling out those defensive linemen. And I feel like that's something that it's going to be really good for this team going into conference play. My biggest question is, are they going to be able to apply just enough pressure to the quarterback to get those sacks? But they're applying enough right now to where they're having to scramble. They're flushing them out of the pocket. They're throwing off their back feet. So those are all things you like to see. And I think you're going to start to see coaches really accommodate for the defenses at Clemson. And that's what they're going to prepare for instead of preparing for a BV defense at Oklahoma last year. Looks like Jay dropped off again.
Jay might have hit the.
Jay had some problems tonight at the night.
Hey,
Yeah.
Tip Lewis being number 2 on the tackles on the total tackle report yesterday, that was shocking. I did not have that one on my bingo card.
And I was just going to jump off it, just piggyback off of that. I guess we just can take over for Jay just for a second, but I mean, I think that's a good time. That's a good place to go. What are you guys' thoughts about Kanik? I mean, a lot of people there's a small chorus, maybe bigger than what we're letting on, but there's a small chorus that kind of want to see Kip or Kobe or somebody possibly get more reps, and kind of cut into his snap count a little bit. I mean, I think it's fine. I know he's still out there thinking a little bit, but that's natural. He didn't play last year. He did play, and when he did, you're giving him plays just to let him go run downhill. This year, you're putting a little bit more on his plate. So I'm not necessarily sold on the idea, but I still do think that you that's where you really have a lot of competitive depth, even going further down to the freshmen that we just got. But I definitely think, I mean, Kobe McKenzie, I think he's just waiting for his chance. And I think that Kip Lewis as well. And I know weight may be an issue, but Kip Lewis makes plays, and you got to have your best playmakers out there on the field.
I think the problem is Kanik is just so athletic and talented. It's hard to leave that off the field. But then you saw problems like you did last night where he was holding on to the player's jersey and caused really the only PI call that I thought should have been called on Oklahoma. But, straight up holding that guy's jersey.
Yeah, and you're right on that one. That was the most blatant, but I went back and watched the Bowen one. He pulled the dude and used him as leverage to jump.
Yeah,
that's technically pass interference.
Okay,
they have
I
to
couldn't
call
really see that well.
That's the hard one to see from the stadium. You have to go rewatch it and watch the angles when they re-showed it. You're like, oh, okay, I see where the refs caught it. But no, to Chris's question about Kanik, honestly, the one thing that I said this when we was on yours, Chris, and then I want to reiterate it. I reiterated it in the video. And James, I get you. You may want to keep Stutzman on the will, but I think that's the problem I have with Kanik is that there was one entire drive, and Chicken, I hope you're in here because we were talking about this a little bit, but there was one drive that I watched. It was in the second quarter early, probably around 8 minutes. If you go watch that entire drive that SMU had, Kanik was in the wrong spot about 3/4 of the possession. And to the point where his teammates were pointing to him where he was supposed to be, what he was supposed to cover, how he's supposed to cover. Now, I give him more grace than most because of not only how freakishly athletic he is, he can recover very fast. But this is only his quote-unquote second full year of learning the position of linebacker. So he's had one full year. He's learning it as a second. So I give him a little grace on that. But, Chris, to your point, if Kip's instincts are better, if Kobe's instincts are better and they can go make plays immediately, you kind of got to consider it and let Kanik continue to grow because I think by next year he'll be light years ahead of where he should be. He'll be much better. But this season, you may want to go ahead and rotate those young players in and get them some run too
Yeah.
because Kanik is a monster, but he is missing out on. I mean, there was the first down, that wheel route was his. And who's number 5? Who's number 5? Is that
Woody.
huh?
Wait, are you talking about on offense or
Woody?
defense?
On defense. On
Woody.
defense, of course.
Woody.
That's Woody. That's what I thought. Woody walked up to him and said, "Hey, you weren't supposed to get to that guy. You were supposed to get him."
Yeah.
And Kanik was like, yeah, I see what you mean. He was like, no, you ran in. You were supposed to go out. And what he did was he jumped on the tight end, and that wheel route went right past him because Woody was actually moving up. I think Bowman had moved up to look like a blitz, to the point of if Stone had tried to throw that off his back foot, they would have deflected it, or that tight end would have got lit up because the ball would have been in the air for too long. And so that wheel route, that was one play, and then like 2 plays later, it was another one, and then 2 plays later, it was another one. So not to beat the dead horse on this statement, but that whole possession was a bunch of mistakes that they're correctable, but there was mistakes that you're like, they're glaring once you go really watch where he's moving around. So yes, we probably should get some younger players out there.
And just take it this way, guys. I mean, this schedule allows a lot of coaching moments to happen during the game. It's gonna go in. It's gonna go again to. It's gonna go into Tulsa, Iowa State, and even Cincinnati, and they're going to be able to get what they need. Because again, if you have say that we go play K-State in the Big 12 championship game, you want to be able to have Kip, Danny, Kobe, and Kanik all be available to rotate in. And guys, we are once again picking the hell out of our defense after giving up 5.5 points per game to this point. Now, does that mean that we're settled and, hey, BV, why don't you just go ahead and grab yourself a cocktail and just chill out? No, that's not what we're at. But we do have that capability to come in and do that. And we still have a lot of guys who are nicked up. I mean, I don't care what you say. It's that going from practice to 2 games back to back, you're going to have some dings, you're going to have some bruises, and you see it on the running back side. Javonte comes in, takes a 1-yard carry, and then I'm pretty sure that was it for him. He didn't carry the ball again. So there were a lot of people talking about how the best ability is availability, and to that extent, I mean, I'm okay with watching Tawee Walker out there just go out and just pound some folks. Marcus Major, he ain't got an apology room yet, but it's being built because I mean he's starting to look like it. Now, does he look like he is a lead back? No. Does he look like he's a functional rotation guy? Yes. And so, but yeah, when it comes time for Kanik, that athleticism, it is what it is. But the dude wasn't a linebacker 2 years ago, and so you can't sit there and say like, oh yeah, he's he in 2 years is going to be have everything on lock under Brent Venables' system as a linebacker. So we continue to watch it. If we want to critique the hell out of the dude after Texas, let's jump on him at that point, and let's watch and see the continuation of the progression that just entire position has. But if I'm not mistaken, all 4 of us think that we got 4 absolute studs at linebacker.
I think you got more than that.
No, you got
more than that.
We haven't even seen them. Oh yeah.
Hey, before you continue, real quick, Mike, happy birthday, happy 58th. Thank you for always pulling up. You are one of the loyal folks that's always here with us. Happy birthday! Thank you for joining.
Where the hell
enjoy your birthday, huh?
Where the hell are the other 6 years?
I know. Right? Were you a Poke fan? He was a Poke fan until he was 7.
Right? That's wow. I guess that's when he decided to pick the team that's going to break his heart for the rest of his life. Which is roughly because you inherit it, but a lot of times you when you get to truly choose, you choose that team that's going to break your heart. And I appreciate that you picked the Sooners and you're with us. So, all right. Let me give y'all my thoughts on the defense too, real quick, since my camera's been going in and out tonight. I don't know what's going on today. I got to take it off and just let it rest, I guess. I've overworked.
Is Levy running it? Is Levy
probably
running it?
Right? It's super conservative right now. But
okay.
Uh, defensively, we held them to 11. We've held a team that scores a lot of points to 11 points
Yeah.
for the first time since 2017. That to me is enough. And SMU is not. I mean, SMU is a group of 5 right now, but we know that traditionally they've been a P5 up until they got the death penalty, and then they haven't recovered since. Because I think most conferences didn't want to touch them just because of the death penalty situation. So they're
Now we're
basically
going to
just
the
kind of sitting there. Yeah, now they're going to the ACC. They'll be back P5. And I heard, even though that they have like a 9-year waiver on the TV rights, which basically is until they can start negotiating a new TV deal, I heard they've got like $250 million in donor money ready to help supplement that to get them over there. So they've got bread. And they're in the heart of Dallas. They would have been like USC type if they didn't get that death penalty. I just put it that way.
The rich part of Dallas.
Yeah, they got bread. They got bread. And so we're going to talk about some of these other games as well. We're definitely going to dive into what went around college football. So thank y'all for pulling up. Hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. Please also share. Why? Because sharing is caring. And if you're listening to the audio version of this rate review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Just give us 5 anyway and gift it. So let's talk about some of these games around the country. We won ours. So we're 2-0. We got to prepare to go and play in Tulsa, 2:30 on Saturday, which the spread dropped. It was minus 23. I saw that this morning, and I looked a few minutes ago, and guess what it was? 26.5. It's still climbing. And I think people are taking us betting a lot on Oklahoma. I think all the money's on Oklahoma right now, so the line keeps going up, which tell me that Vegas thinks that we're really going to blow them out. Like, we're going to take out all of this animosity that we have from everything that's been going on. We're going to just take it all out on Tulsa, which I really feel bad for them. And
what
so
if Levy called a shit game just so that he could go out here to Tulsa and massacre him?
No, I think that's what you're going to see. I think Levy's going to call it a good game. The first game against Arkansas State. I don't care if it's against Arkansas State. Biggest thing I look for in those games are execution. When you're playing against competition that you know that you're better than, that you know that you could beat, the best thing you could do is work on yourself, work on your craft, work on all that stuff. And that's exactly what we went out there and did against Arkansas State. So I think that's where the letdown was really in this game last night, was just the fact that the execution wasn't always there. The execution didn't meet the expectation. So going towards Tulsa, I watched their game against
Washington.
Yeah, against Washington. I mean, the jet sweeps, a lot of the misdirection stuff. I mean, they were doing a lot of different things out there that they wanted to be able to do. And I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. When we're clicking on all cylinders, I don't see any difference between us and Washington. I just see the AP rankings right now.
Yeah. We'll play them like Washington played them, and I think that we'll be more aggressive. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned this in my morning after, and I talked about this even on the Horns Down podcast with Chris, is that no reason to really open up your playbook, especially with these new players, until you get into Big 12 play. And I think the game not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after, when we travel to Cincinnati, I think the playbook's got to be open in that game. They're playing really good football. Yeah, and their defensive line, I think they have the best defensive line in the Big 12. That is arguably between them and Texas. That has been the argument for a while. Their defensive line is veteran. It's good, but they play at 3 down. So if we just run down their throat, we'll be fine. We can play them like Bama played them in the playoffs. Just run down their throat and don't try to constantly throw, which is, I think, what Levy's trying to establish as well, is that a power run is what beats Cincinnati. That's how Alabama beat them in the playoffs. Remember, they had Sauce Gardner, and I can't think of the other cornerback they had out there at the same time. But Gardner basically had one side. Was it Kobe Bryant? Yeah. So they had 2 bookend corners. They got drafted in the NFL, and their safeties were solid also. So Saban looked at it and said, why would I have Bryce Young throw on a defense that's really good at the pass? We're just going to run it down their throat. And so you saw Brian Robinson run the ball for like 200 yards. I anticipate a game similar like that when we get to Cincinnati, and we'll talk about them more in depth then. So let's jump into some of these games. We got to talk about the big one. Let's talk about the big one first, and then we can jump into some of the others I'm thinking about. Texas beating Alabama 34-24. Oh, gosh. So let me just ask the roundtable real quick. Y'all worried about Texas now?
No.
No.
I've been worried about Texas all year, so my mind. Listen, I've been into the
You're the
mindset
quiet
that
one on
Oklahoma's
this.
going to go in there. They're going to lose that weekend, and then we'll have a chance to redeem ourselves in the Big 12 championship. I'm not setting myself up for failure.
Okay, well, yeah, PG doesn't want to have any hopium. Coop, you got any hopium on?
Yeah, I do because it's still Texas. Until I see a consistent year out of Texas, you can't expect it. Alabama couldn't. I mean, I'm sorry, Milroe he's not it. He was killing worms at times, and there were a few times when he had dudes running wide open, and it looked good, and they were able to throw back out there. But even on that Jaden Milroe or Jalen Milroe, even on one of his runs, it looked like the old CD Lamb with like 5 Texas players just jumping at the sidelines and jumping at the yard lines, and like I don't know who tried to tackle what, but nothing happened. And now, is their offense, did it click last night? It clicked last night. It absolutely did. And their defense got after it pretty hard. And they could sell out for the run because they did not respect the passing game of Alabama. Now, you go into OU Texas, and whatever has been happening the previous weeks usually means almost nothing. It means almost nothing because it's the same thing with Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma, Texas. You have no clue what's going on going into that game. None at all. And so, is Texas, again, I started the summer off with saying, hey guys, don't be surprised. Alabama's got to figure out a quarterback. Don't be surprised if Texas goes in and wins. Then I saw last week, and I thought, well, I'm going to jump on the Alabama bandwagon because Milroe threw it over the yard. Guys, it's 2 weeks. We've seen some Jekyll and Hyde. We're talking about Cincinnati. Emory Jones, 18 to 26 for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns, 1 interception against Pittsburgh. He looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate last week. So I'm not going to overreact. You go in, Texas doesn't know what they're walking into against the defense. They don't. Nobody wants to respect it. Nobody wants to believe it. And so we'll have to see what happens on the field, and that's why you play the game.
Chris.
Oh, and look, I'll just say this right here. It's a big win. It's a great win for Texas. It's what they expected to do, so they went in there and they did that. So I'll give them that. Biggest takeaways from the game now that I've slept on it, Jay, I'll say is this right here is I watched Jance's video. Shout out to my guy Jance. Jance said it perfectly. He said, look, the Texas defense didn't do anything special. It was just a simple fact that Milroe can't read the defense. Guys are running wide open. Guys are running across the middle. They're running the play. Guys are popping open, but he's not reading the coverage. And when he does read it, it's too late, and he's throwing the pick already. So it wasn't anything. I mean, they were playing 2 high safeties, but I mean, when they started loading, they started creeping in. That's whenever things got bad. Like I said, Bama put themselves in bad positions last night. You can't be 3rd and 10, especially with a guy that is not the best passer. And in my opinion, Tommy Reese kind of clams in those games. Let's just be real. Some of those bigger games or whatever, Tommy Reese, sometimes he just kind of clams. But another thing that I would say is this right here, surprisingly, hey, Worthy was catching a lot of passes last night. He wasn't dropping those touchdowns in the end zone. So when you don't have a combination of drops and all the rest of that stuff like that, you should go out there and do that. But also, we got to say, look, as talented as Caleb Downs is and as talented as the Arnold kid is that Ty was talking about, you got true freshmen out there in the secondary, and they made some key mistakes. So that's something that you got to watch out for. Right now, Texas can ride high, and deservingly so. I'll be the first one to admit that. Horns Down podcast, all the rest of that aside, all jokes aside. Texas, you went out there and did your thing. That's a great win. Now, you have 3 games until the Red River shootout that you're going to be heavily favored in, but you have to go handle your business. You come home against Wyoming. Wyoming beat your arch enemy right now, not even us, but Texas Tech. Wyoming is going to be better than Rice, but they're going to be below the level of a Alabama. So what do you do there? Are you going to have a letdown game against them? Also, you go on the road against Baylor. We know that Baylor is a walking dumpster fire right now, but at the same time, it's still Baylor, and you guys have had trouble with them in the past. Then guess who comes through? to Texas, right? You're a real rival of the past 3 years, Kansas. So the thing is that
You got a point.
you guys have 3 games that I want to see. Like I told you, come on every podcast that we've done with all of the Texas guys, the SEC Connect, everything. I'm in a show me state. 2 games into the season, great job. Pat yourself on the back. Y'all are the best team in the Big 12. That's what you want to say. Go ahead and do it. Claim it. But it's the way you got to finish the season because everybody's talking about it in the comments. Come on, man.
Hey, so truth, of course. I saw you pop up and say, you pop in. Of course, I said Texas, and we summoned you. I'm glad that you're here. Appreciate you pulling up. You always support every channel. Nothing but love,
Yeah,
except for the
that's
hate that we
true.
have. The hate that we have for each other as far as teams go. But no, real talk. I think Texas played a complete game that they needed to play to win this game. I think that the problem that Alabama has is it's been what 5 straight quarterbacks. They have the same problem that Clemson has right now. About 5 straight quarterbacks. Now you got to start figuring it out again, and they hit a
And
dud.
Oklahoma.
Right. It happens whenever you down the line, every once in a while, you're going to miss on a quarterback. And I think Jalen Milroe has shown that he is a miss, unfortunately, for them. Now, that doesn't mean that Milroe is bad. I think that he's a miss because I don't think he's built for what they're trying to do at Alabama. They need somebody that can make their own decisions. And that means that the next quarterback, which is Julian saying next year, will probably be the one to start them back to what they're used to. Because I don't think any of the quarterbacks on that roster right now is able to do it. But y'all did a good job of making it hard for him. Y'all showed him a whole bunch of different looks. Y'all confused him. Y'all made him work. And your defensive line pushed their offensive line around. And I heard that their offensive line was one of the better ones they had.
Yeah.
And you're right. He needs more polish, but that's the problem. You ain't getting no polish at Bama right now. Not if you didn't get it last year. That's the problem. You should have got it last year.
Can I make one point before we go let Coop go? I just want to make this point right here. In my opinion, I think he's the most talented quarterback that Tommy Rees has coached thus far. But through 2 games, the first game against Middle Tennessee State, it looked good, but wasn't good, right? Jaden Milroe, I think, it would be better off in more of a true spread. I feel like there's too much. I feel like it's still a lot of pro style to Tommy Rees in this offense. I know that. Don't get me wrong. It's a shotgun. It's a spread, but it's more. It's still a lot more pro principles in it, and I'm not sure if that really fits or suits Milroe at this point. I think Milroe needs to be in the offense that is going to let him just make plays.
So this is Saban's offense. This is the Alabama offense.
Yeah.
It's saying Tommy Rees. Tommy Rees is just calling it, and he's supposed to add wrinkles. That's where the problem lies. Jalen Milroe is a player that they recruited that's not built for their offense.
Yeah.
And you're right. You can send Jalen Milroe to another school that's very, very friendly with simpler concepts, and he probably goes out there like Jalen Hurts. No lie. I mean, that's why you saw a difference with Jalen Hurts at Alabama than you saw him in the Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. As soon as they gave him different, easier concepts, and they made it to where he could focus and be able to leverage his strength, which is that power run, while at the same time being able to launch it, he excelled. That is exactly what I think you're going to see out of Milroe. I don't think he lasts there at Alabama. I think that he goes somewhere else. Someone snatches him up, and he moves up the charts. Because I think he's talented. Like you said, Truth, you're right. He needs more polish. His polish ain't going to come from Alabama, though. His polish ain't come from Alabama. If he ain't got it now, he ain't going to get it.
He needs to end up in that Satterfield offense at Cincinnati, like Emory Jones. I mean, Emory Jones couldn't, stay on the field in Florida, but that's that Lamar Jackson style of offense. Something like that. What they're trying to run for Rashad out at Arizona State. But there's a lot of people that would take Jalen Milroe in a heartbeat. But yeah, Saban's going to have to hold on for dear life because he is going to get some very, very frustrating moments because you saw some elite athleticism from him and you saw some subpar quarterbacking. and it's not going to change. And I'll pull it up here in a second to see who Alabama has coming up next. But you got to think like, oh my gosh, there's
It's a cakewalk.
there's a we're going to start because they showed what's his name transferred in from Notre Dame, Buckner. They showed Buckner on the sideline. Buckner didn't look like he looked like he was told at the beginning of the game, "You're right there's your spot, and we're not switching." So because he looked about into the game as the people in the front row.
Yeah, they travel to South Florida next, and then they have Ole Miss coming to the crib. And so
That's right.
South Florida will be a good game for them to figure out who they're going to play quarterback moving forward because they still have a chance to win everything. They still and Unc, you're right. Bama's line is young. Like I was watching Proctor out there, and I was like, "Ooh, he's making some really freshman mistakes." And this is the reason why I understand everybody likes to see the freshmen play a lot. This is why I don't like freshmen playing a lot, especially in big games. They're gonna make freshman mistakes.
Right now.
They're gonna make freshman mistakes, and y'all are gonna be mad. You're gonna be like, "They're not playing well." Yeah, they're freshmen. They're really young. They're still trying to figure it out. Sometimes some of the concepts are complex. They're just trying to figure it out. That's why you got to be careful. When they make those freshman mistakes, everybody gets mad about it. That's why I'm not big on playing freshmen a lot. I like playing them in spurts. I just don't like playing them a lot. And Caden Proctor is their starting left tackle, and he kind of looked like a freshman. That's kind of the big one. So, PG, you got final thoughts before we move on to the next game?
Yeah, I mean, I expected a lot more out of that Alabama offensive line. So I actually pulled it up because I didn't want to get it wrong. But On3 tweeted this out on the 31st of August, and they said, after updated heights and weights, Alabama's offensive line is now an average of 6'5", 339 pounds. Jesus. And I saw that, and I just thought, my Lord, Texas is not going to get to this quarterback. And there might not be a lot of teams that can cause a lot of pressure. Well, I was wrong. To say the least. And, I've been saying it. Like, I needed to see Texas win this game for me to really believe that they could go out there and do something. Hey, they won it. So I'm going to give Texas the benefit of the doubt here that they can go out there and run the table this season. They still have a really hard schedule. I think they have 6 of the 12 hardest teams in the Big 12 in terms of FPI ratings or something like that. In terms of Kansas,
computers,
BYU, K-State, TCU, Oklahoma, Tech. So their schedule's not easy. But I think with one loss, they could still easily make the playoffs now that they have that Bama win on their schedule. But for Alabama, I mean, I don't know why they didn't turn to a different quarterback in that game. And then I got to watch the last 18 minutes of that game. And I really asked myself, why are they not playing some of these younger running backs that they've talked so highly about? Like specifically Justice Haynes, which, by the way, we saw these guys in week 1, but you don't see them in probably your most important game of the season against Texas. So it's like you have 2 5-star running backs that you didn't play, but yet you want to be able to pound the ball this year and run it. It just didn't make sense to me because McCullen wasn't working.
No, I get you. And I don't see why Texas would even play the young ones at this point. I mean, I think they knew that the run game was going to be a challenge going up against Bama. It always is. The other thing, too, is that for Texas, their schedule, they leave the state once more for the rest of the season. They've only got one game out of the state of Texas for the rest of the season. So there's no excuse for Texas to not have a good season. Now, granted, some of this traveling is going to be tough going down to Houston, in which Houston lost to Rice. Y'all better beat Houston.
Going up to Dallas, TCU.
Going up to Dallas to play TCU, going to Fort Worth, and you're coming to Dallas to play us, which will be fun. And then outside of that, everybody comes to y'all, and you go to Waco. And I don't think Waco really counts as really a travel. That's like us going to Tulsa. Like who really counts about that? But Ant Hill. Well, go ahead.
What I really hope is I want to see them go undefeated all the way up to that last game of the season. Because who's waiting at the last game of the season? And how I would love for a 2008 situation all over again.
Oh gosh, that would be horrible, and that would actually be quite hilarious all at the same time. But again, for Texas, y'all got a pretty nice trick there. And frightening, you're right. One of the players I like the most on y'all's roster that I really hope is academically and eligible when we go to Dallas in October, Ant Hill. I hope he just didn't like his freshman classes and it just doesn't work out somehow. I don't want him to be hurt. I just want him to just have to sit because I don't want to watch him play. He's that
He's a
good.
monster.
I like him a lot. I really like him a lot.
The sad
I
part
like
is
Anthony
Oklahoma
Hill.
almost won that recruitment too.
Yeah, we were trying. I like him a lot. He's one that's fun. He's a fun player. So anyway, let's move on to the next game. Chris has made his valiant return. Let's jump into one that I want to talk about because I enjoy having fun talking about them. The Buffs cooking, and of course, my stops working right at the right time. Let's talk about the Buffs. Let's talk about how Coach Prime and them are doing stuff that, probably me and PG the only ones that really believe was going to happen. I said it in a video that he was going to go 3-0, mainly because when I saw his schedule, I thought they'd beat TCU. It's just something about them felt weird. If you don't believe me, you can look at the video I put out 7 months ago when I looked at their early predictions.
Receipts.
I had them. I got receipts. I have receipts. I have them going 6-6 this season, and I had them starting the season off 3-0. Now that may change now that they're playing against the way Oregon's playing. There's a good chance that they may take them out too. Oregon is not the powerhouse I was hoping they would be, but the Oregon game is basically their first real piece of competition as far as playing a team that can really shoot out with them, like TCU, but can probably go further because Bo Nix. I like what he's done. He's done something that's very much unprecedented, and I'm gonna tell y'all now, this is not something somebody else is gonna be able to achieve in the Power 5 ranks. You're not gonna find another Deion Sanders. There's only one of them. You're not gonna be able to turn your roster over with 60 different players and be able to do what he does unless you really are disciplinarian. That's what Prime is. Prime is old school coaching. He may be flamboyant as hell, but outside of him being super flamboyant, he coaches and those players listen, like they're disciplined. They actually play like they're disciplined. So let's go round table on this one. I kind of want to see what everybody's thoughts on it. We'll start with you, Coop. We'll go to PG and Chris while I go ahead once again and turn my camera off and back on.
I mean, going into this game, even as seeing that Colorado actually had a product to put out on the field, I have a hard time believing that anybody thought that Nebraska, who rolled out the stinker that they did the week before, would come in and be competitive. But that game was a little competitive tight and early. I mean, Colorado gave up the world on defense against TCU in week one. But Nebraska, I mean, they can't throw the ball. It ain't happening. That's a bad offense. Their defense held in there, and they took advantage of some stuff. But I'll tell you what, if you have Colorado on your radar, you need to start paying attention to their passing game. The passing game is it. It is. Hunter is a much better receiver than I ever thought he could be. And he's somebody that you have to keep in your mind. But Weaver looked, 10 catches on 170 yards. I mean, that guy was all over the place. Good job. I mean, again, the fact that Nebraska kept it tight for a short bit there, makes it think that it might have been a good win. That wasn't a good win. Nebraska's a terrible team. Colorado's got a product. And after last week, I was up a little bit more now. But I'm trying this new thing to where I take everything as a piece of the entire picture. And you don't have an entire picture with one brushstroke or even two. So you gotta let these things happen. But their passing offense is it. Shedeur, I never knocked him at all. But I did say that I disbelieved in this Colorado product and situation. Shedeur has my respect now. He is doing a good job. And I don't care if he shows out next week and throws for 250 yards and 3 interceptions. The guy is a quarterback, and he's going to be a good one. And he's going to go drafted. He's going to have a chance in the league too.
No, that's a good point. Real quick, Shotty, what's good, man? Thanks for pulling up. Yeah, you're right. Colorado's defense ain't the greatest, but they're playing in the Pac-12, so I'm not sure where the concern is. It's just going to be shootouts every week because I haven't seen a Pac-12 defense that has shown us that they can actually stop anybody in a big game. So good thing is they're in a conference that is really all about just gunslinging. I mean, I think they have the best quarterbacks in the country overall, like top to bottom. They from Penix all the way up to Shedeur. I mean, and everybody in between and up to the top, which is Caleb, who won the Heisman. they got some really good quarterbacks over there. It's just they've never played defense. That's never been the Pac-12 tradition. The last time they truly played defense in the Pac was when Pete Carroll was there, because that was Pete Carroll's thing. Pete Carroll's a defensive guy, right? That's all. So yeah, that's basically it. So, Chris, how'd you feel about the Coach Prime that they doing over there in Colorado?
Oh no, man. I mean, you can't be anything but happy for what they're doing. Um, first game at TCU, that was just kind of a statement win, in my opinion. I think this kind of validated what they did, all the hype they received from that TCU performance. I I know the story is about Colorado, but man, Nebraska right now. I just feel for Matt Rule right now because I felt like Matt Rule would have a better. I thought he would have a better team, a more stingy team, but it's the year one rebuild, right? Trying to rebuild a culture, trying to rebuild a brand, trying to rebuild a lot of things out there in Nebraska. Jeff Sims. I mean, as much as we were talking about Milrow, Jeff Sims looks completely lost out there. They're not able to throw the ball. They're not able to run the ball. They're trying to do triple option. They're trying to do all these different things, and still somehow they take 20. They may have a drive where it's 8 or 9 plays for 70 yards, and then they end up fumbling each drive, and you're just sitting there, just turnover, 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 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Finally get the score. Finally do this, and it's just a little bit too late. Um, I didn't think that for the first part of the game, honestly, it played in Nebraska's hands. Keep it, win the time of possession battle and just keep the ball. Keep the ball away from them. But after a while, just the talent that Colorado has over there and just that juice, that energy just got flowing, and they just could not turn around. So I thought all in all, it was a great performance. My thing is just I'm ready to see them. They got after this Colorado State game, they got 2 games that, hey, those are cash money games that you got to go out there and win to truly validate your season, which is Oregon and Colorado. I mean, not Oregon and Colorado, but Oregon and USC. Those are 2 games right there.
And sooner, everybody mentioning about Notre Dame. Colorado doesn't play. Who we talking about? Washington. Who we talking about playing Notre Dame? Because Colorado does not play Notre Dame at all this year, luckily. So we ain't got to worry about them. They ain't got to worry about that. That's one of those teams that they ain't got to worry about that. So, but no, they offensively, I think they're fine. Defensively, I've said it before, I've got concerns. PG, how you feeling on Colorado and that win?
I'm feeling really good about them. 3-0. That's kind of where I had them as well. And then I had them losing to Oregon and USC. But I said USC was a game that was very winnable because it's change in elevation for those USC guys. So, they're going to have the oxygen tanks on the sidelines. And that's not a joke. Like, when these teams go into the mountains, like, they have to bring in oxygen tanks a lot of time for these players so they're able to recover. So they're going to have to bring those oxygen tanks, and I have a feeling they're going to be using them quite a bit because with Alex Grinch wanting to run the speed D, and with how fast Sean Lewis is going to want to run this offense, he's going to want to run USC into the ground. And I feel like we're going to see that at some level. And so I feel like that's going to give them a shot to win that game. But what you're seeing from Colorado now, I feel like should have been expected because Jimmy Horn Jr. and Xavier Weaver were absolute monsters at USF. And I'm not sure how they waited till last year to enter the transfer portal. They should have hit the portal earlier than that, especially Xavier Weaver, who was tearing it up out there. He could have been used by a lot of teams across the country. So I really like what they have put together on offense or on the defensive side of the ball. To put it in perspective, Coach Prime literally has 72 new players on this roster this year. 72 new players. It's like 21 enrollees, and then the rest of them were, 51 of them were in the transfer portal, out or incoming. So a lot of new players there. You've got Shiloh Sanders, Travis Hunter, probably the two best in the secondary, and I expect that as the season goes on, you're going to see guys like Trevor Woods and even Miles Slusher continue to stake up. We've even seen Trevor Woods go out there and pick the ball off. Additionally, Jordan Dominic on the defensive line, especially in the Nebraska game, like he showed you what he did not only at Georgia Tech but at Arkansas, and he's going to be that same guy. The only question that I have is are they going to be able to get a little bit more pressure to the quarterback? They've only gotten 2 sacks now through 2 weeks. I want to see, especially in a league that is driven so heavy by the quarterback, I want to see them get a couple hits there, because with a guy like Caleb Williams, I mean, you've got to be able to contain him as much as possible. But I'm looking at Colorado's schedule, and realistically, I'm thinking they could go probably 6 wins like what you're saying, but man, their ceiling's probably 8 or 9 at this point.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, let's ask this one in. I got a question for another question for everybody, as my camera just hates me tonight. So we'll just continue to keep going with me with my camera off for now. Got to know, is the Big 12 in trouble? Texas Tech and Baylor are 0-2. Baylor losing at home to Utah 20-13, and then you had Oregon fly out to Lubbock, middle of nowhere, America, and they win 38-0. We'll go back to UPG. What's up with these Big 12 teams?
I mean, I don't think
hot seats.
No, go ahead.
Oh, so we got some hot seats. I mean, hey, Rice beat Houston. I mean, technically, is it like in Houston, which is where both of them are resided. So I don't know. That's kind of weird because it's not really a road game, but it's a road game. But Houston lost to Rice. What's going on with the Big 12, man?
Yeah, so I'm not super worried about the Big 12. Baylor losing to Texas State. Did I not say on Ty's show that was a game everybody needed to watch? Because Texas State got TJ Finley from Auburn, and they've gotten a ton of Power 5 dudes on that roster, specifically from Oklahoma. Texas State is not a team people should be overlooking this year. So not really too worried about that. And then, Texas Tech losing to Wyoming, that was a little concerning. BYU only beating Sam Houston State, a little concerning. But you go into week 2, I mean, in week 1, you had West Virginia play Penn State. I mean, they weren't going to win that, but you want to get those good games on your schedule. Colorado beating TCU. Colorado's a Big 12 team at this point. So, I mean, you don't really count that as an really, it's not an out-of-conference loss because they're coming. But you got good wins. KU beat Illinois. In previous years, that was a game that KU would have lost. Baylor went and played a Utah team that is, nationally looked upon as one of the top teams in the country over the past couple of years. So, no shame in losing that game in the last final seconds, 20-13. Tech was holding their own against Oregon. I mean, I really didn't give Tech a shot in that game. I don't care how good their offense is. And then Iowa State always drops a game to Iowa. Always. Like, you can never count on them to beat Iowa. So Cincinnati goes in there. They beat Pitt. You had UCF beating Boise State. In week 3, I think you're going to see the Big 12 rebound a little bit. K-State's got to go play Missouri. They're going to beat them. Baylor gets Long Island. So you're going to see the Big 12 start to bounce back a little bit. My question is, I want to see BYU beat Arkansas, and I want to see West Virginia beat Pitt. If they can do that, then I think, everybody's concerns with the Big 12 are going to go away. But no concerns when you play top-tier teams and then you lose to those top-tier teams. Like, the fact that you scheduled a top-tier team on your schedule is good enough for me.
Coop, what you think about that?
They are who we thought they were. I'm playing it simple. Everybody said it was OU, Texas, K-State, maybe a BYU. That was pretty much it. Kansas as your dark horse. Those are the teams that have looked good, right? Cincinnati has looked a little bit better than we thought they were, but Oklahoma State is what we thought they were. The whole adage, if you've got 2 quarterbacks, you got none. Well, Gundy says, screw it, I'll add 3. What do you think about that? So UCF, John Rice Plumlee, he can't throw the damn ball. Anybody want to? If anybody still wants to argue if Rice Plumlee is going to look like an actual good quarterback, what do you have? 3 interceptions yesterday. So Yeah, Houston, and Iowa State. They look. I mean, they've looked bad, but I mean, I think it is. The only surprise from a national perspective is what's going on at Tech, in Lubbock. But most of us around here were like, well, hold on a second. They barely beat Texas, or they almost beat Texas, and then they beat us, which we probably should have won that game, but we had a down year. And then all of a sudden they got flowers for it. So everybody was really giving Texas Tech, a nice amount of go get them. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, I mean, it's Oklahoma and Texas. Kansas State is waiting there for one of those two to fall off. I don't think BYU is that good, and Kansas looked damn good.
You're joking, right? I mean, you're telling a joke.
What are you talking about?
Kansas looking damn good.
I mean, they're still out there. I mean, they put wins. This is a team who's learning how to win. Jalen Daniels' first year.
I mean, they're learning to win. I wouldn't bet on KU being able to go out there and beat. Like, I feel like if KU had to go play Missouri today, they'd probably lose that game.
Yeah, I don't know, because Missouri ain't very good.
I don't feel like KU's defense is there yet. They have a really good offense.
We said
I think that's enough.
Yeah, we said they weren't there, but Jalen, I mean, Daniels is that guy. I mean, he is a freak. And so, I mean, as far as that goes, he is going to come out during big games, and he's going to put pressure, and then you're going to have to, it's going to put pressure on your offense too. But I'm not talking about Kansas being a winner of the Big 12. They were my number 5 team. So, after this, after the first 2 weeks, I mean, it's pretty much what we said at the beginning of the year, outside of any like massive projection.
Okay, number 5, I can agree with you on them there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're not going to be in a New Year's Day bowl or anything like that. I mean, they're going to be a 7-8 win team, and it's going to be good.
I will say this: Cincinnati has shocked me this year, though. With how good they have looked, I thought Cincinnati would be a bottom feeder this year. I did not think Cincinnati would be this good.
Well, yeah, and I don't see Prime leaving at all or whatnot. So what about Oklahoma State? Man, they somehow got Arizona State let them off the hook, which makes me mad. That game, I was literally like, yeah, they're totally gonna win that game, and then they had 3 quarterbacks play. What is this 3 quarterback throwing thing? I mean, don't understand.
If you're playing subpar teams like Arizona State, I feel like it's hard to kind of defend against that because you don't know what look you're going to get when it is. You have to prepare for 3 different guys. Like, I mean, I feel like it's kind of hard to prepare for.
Well, listen, I'm pretty sure that if I told any team that Oklahoma State is about to face that, hey, I got my buddy PG, myself, and a guy named Jay, we're going to be playing quarterback. You need to prepare for all 3. They'll be like, who the hell are you guys? That's exactly. I mean, they don't have an elite. They don't have a like a Jalen Milroe or something like that. I mean, I don't think Arizona State's very good. I think Rashada ran all over the place in week 1, and they're in the middle of talking about how their offensive line is banged up, and in the mid-sentence, dude breaks his leg, like the last remaining starter from the year before. So they're playing with their number 2s, and it's Arizona State. So talent depth is not. They're not drinking during podcast over there talking about their competitive depth.
I do like though the direction that Kenny Dillingham's got. Jaden Rashada looks like he's going to be a good quarterback.
Hey PG, you ever play football?
No, my parents wouldn't let me play. Actually, put this in perspective. When I was in high school, I weighed about 120, 125 pounds. So I was not allowed to play football. I was not allowed.
I was about a 125 at wide receiver in high school. So, it's all about if they want you to play or not. So I get it. Anyway, Cincinnati. Let's talk about them real quick before we wrap things up. We got them coming in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to be honest. Emory Jones looked good. He looks pretty good. He scored 7 touchdowns against Eastern Kentucky, which you're supposed to, 66-13. But that Pitt game, traveling on the road, they did not look bad. Talk to me. How y'all feel about that? Chris is back. How y'all feel about Cincinnati?
I feel like that's a game that Oklahoma can lose. I mean, I think I've said it all season. That's probably going to be an 11 o'clock game. I don't think it'll be big noon kickoff, but it'll be an 11 o'clock game. And, historically, those are games that Oklahoma has struggled in, right? They'll walk in away undefeated, and that's the one that bites them. I feel like this could be it. It just feels like a trap game to me is what it feels like. The week before, is this the week before Texas?
No, it's not. Okay. We got them. We get Iowa State at home, and then we go to Texas. Texas trap game, I think, is it Kansas?
No.
Yeah, Kansas.
Wait, is it Kansas?
It's Kansas. Kansas is the week before in Austin.
Baylor on the road, then Kansas, then us.
Yeah, that's going to be because Kansas is going Baylor's going to beat up on Texas like they always do. And not like beat them up, like win the game. It's more of a body to body. Like Aranda's defense still ain't bad. They're still physical. They just ain't gonna win anything. That's their biggest problem. And then Kansas loves to just be a heartbreaker to Texas. So I know Truth hates to hear it, but they that's kind of what they do. So it's gonna be intriguing. It's like Kansas to Texas is our Kansas State.
Yeah.
That's basically what it seems like over the years.
I mean, I agree with Kim here. Like, Kansas or Cincinnati probably could be a beatdown, but I mean, here's the deal. When you look at how the game's going to be set up for Oklahoma in first Big 12 game, I want Oklahoma to take every precaution. Every precaution.
No, PJ, I gotta disagree with you on this one. With Cincinnati, my biggest problem is yes, the offensive line. I mean, the defensive line may be good, however y'all are saying it. Thing about it is simply this right here. Emory Jones is he's a mediocre quarterback. You can put up numbers against them in a bad Pittsburgh team. The problem that OU will have is if they go out there and treat them like a Texas Tech of last year or a Baylor of last year. Beat yourself up. Throw untimely interceptions or have untimely turnovers, not able to score, not sustaining drives, different things like that. And then at the end of the day, if Emory Jones is going to be the quarterback that beats you, it's going to be something like around probably him being 18 to 26 for 170 yards and probably another 70 or 80 yards on the ground, being able to pick up first downs and stuff like that and short yardage plays with his feet, with his legs. He's not a guy that I think that can literally go out there and beat you. We have a huge sample size of Emory Jones. Emory Jones is the same quarterback that he was at Arizona State and at Florida. And we faced Emory Jones before in the bowl game against Florida. He came in there late. Thing about Emory Jones is, like I said, is that if we treat this game like a Texas Tech game, and they come out there with that game plan, win the time of possession, and they have a solid run game, and we're giving them 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 2s, stuff like that, then that's when we find ourselves in trouble. But other than that, if we come out there and be sound like we have, then there's no reason why we shouldn't cover whatever the spread is for that game. I just don't trust Emory Jones as a guy to go out there and get it. I don't think Cincinnati is terrible, and I don't think they're going to be any pushover, but I just don't see how, if we handle our business and stay disciplined like we have first 2 games of the season, at least defensively, I just don't see how we don't come out there with a win by probably at least 20 plus.
Ooh, yeah, I mean that's a lot to me. I don't know if I can go that. But Coach, I was good. Appreciate you pulling up. No shirt. Hey, we talk about it. We'll talk about shirts soon on that one or whatnot. But PG, go ahead.
No, I mean I see what you're saying. It's just historically, and I'm not ready to say Oklahoma is not going to have this problem anymore until I see it. Historically, this is a team that Oklahoma would just going to give up a lot of points to, and they're going to make this quarterback look like Tom Brady. So until I can see them go out there and not have that happen, I mean, at this point, I have too much data and too many points to point to say, hey, this is something that can happen to them.
So to add to that, and I think that's very fair. I think it's fair to be cautious on it. This is going to make me mad, so I'm not even going to put my camera on anymore. I know that it's fair to say that because You're right. It historically we let Tulane in the game. What was that? Our last year with our last 2 years with Riley. We've let a lot of teams in that we should not have let in. I mean, the Baylor game at Texas Tech last year, even before Kansas State every year. There's a lot of teams that we should have never let in games, and we did.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that this defense is different. We've just got to let them. They just got to prove it. And you're right. We got to prove it. And I think that once we go through Tulsa
Mm-hmm.
and we play against Cincinnati in Cincinnati, that's the statement game that I think people will probably buy into what our defense is doing.
Yeah, but
BV,
oh, go ahead.
go ahead. I was
I
gonna say
was just gonna say.
BV.
Oh, go ahead,
Go
bro.
ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
It's
no,
your
I'll
show.
let you finish
Go
it
ahead.
up. No, go
This is
ahead. I just finish it up. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say this right here. If you guys are gonna just keep throwing this word out historically. Well, if you're gonna historically group everybody together, then let's talk about the Mike Stoops and Grinch defenses, please, because I think that's the common nucleus to the historic problems that you guys are having.
You're
This
right.
this is BV's defense. I feel better
Uh
about
huh.
the defense. I think that we're better, and I think we're going to be more disciplined. Last night, from what I seen, like I said, we talked about it earlier in the show. I
Okay.
think
Well,
this
let
defense
me
is gonna
let
be
me
more
point this
disciplined.
out real quick on that. Let me add to that real quick. And this is
Go
the reason
ahead.
why I say historically we've done that. We're still working through the last bit of that regime's players, especially
Yep.
on the defensive side. Now, we have brought in transfers. We have changed players. That is very much true. But the other thing to remember, and this is the reason why I'm sold on this defense. When BV first got to Clemson, their ratings as far as like defensive rating, they were in like the 58 range. BV, and in his second year there, they were top 10. BV, when he came here, his first season last year, we were 59 rated in defense overall. Like just that's all the analytics. If this defense continue to play like it's played these first two games, which we played really good in the first three games last season, we got to keep it going through the conference games. If we do that conference wise all the way up to Red River, we'll finish with a top 10 defense statistically, because we don't. SMU, as mentioned in the comments, SMU is probably the best team that we are going to see outside of Texas in this conference, because I don't think anybody else is as good offensively as SMU.
You don't think Cincinnati's that good?
No, I don't
I
think
don't.
I don't think they're as good as SMU offensively. I don't.
Yeah, can I take a crack at it? My turn.
Go ahead, Coop. My turn.
125 yards passing. He averaged 4.8 yards per completion this week, Emory Jones. All right, 2 touchdowns and interception. They got a good running back. Kiner had himself a good week, but this is Pittsburgh. Who did Pittsburgh play in week 1? I believe it was Wofford. So, I'm not saying that, Pittsburgh wasn't walking in there with the expectations this year. I'm looking up and down, they lost a lot. And so, no, Emory Jones, yes, we do have data. We've got lots of data, like Chris said. Lots of Emory Jones data. And again, yeah, because I could go back. Reggie McNeil. I still remember us going in number 1 in the country, going to Texas A&M, and Eric Bassey just running, behind the wide receiver. I think we lost that game. What was it? Probably, I think we gave up 31, and I thought, how the hell is Oklahoma ever going to give up 31 points in a game? This is ridiculous. And now we got PTSD because that damn game was 20 years ago. So, I think SMU. I've heard that the offense is really good, so I'm going to lean on that one. And it was an absolute. But I don't know of another offense outside of Texas that really is going to be potent. Um, so I think it probably is Texas and then SMU as far as like the the offensive strengths. But I think also Kevin Wilson can tell me that he isn't going to pull out everything he's ever coached and taught anything like that. Because he's got nothing to lose, so he's going to throw out a bunch of stuff. I think this defense is legit. We're talking about mistakes, quite a bit of mistakes. This week, and quite a bit of mistakes in the backfield last week. And again, 11 points. It's not like we are hopefully, trying to convince ourselves that we've only given up 21 points per game. I fully think that Cincinnati should not scare us anymore. They're better than I thought they were because I did think that they were going to be the bottom.
So, Jay was talking about SMU being the best team Oklahoma will face outside of Texas. I'm assuming he's not giving any credit to UCF or Kansas there either.
You know,
I
Kansas,
think
yes.
UCF's got a pretty
That's
good
correct.
offense.
Yeah, I omitted Kansas. I think Kansas is legitimate. And I don't care which one, either of the two guys.
Yeah, I just got to see it, and it's not, I'm not trying to be a downer about it. I just got to see Oklahoma win this kind of game. Like I said, I look at Cincinnati, and it just feels like the most trappiest of all trap games for Oklahoma, and I just want to see them go in there, take care of business, and win that game. That feels like the K-State in year past.
I've never believed in Kansas like that.
No, I'm talking
that's
K-State. K-State. I'm talking about Cincinnati.
Well, we're not playing K-State this year. I don't think Cincinnati's that good like that either. I don't think Cincinnati has that. Like as Chris mentioned, we've seen this Emory Jones a story, but he's not bad. I think he's playing good this year.
Yeah.
And I think being in a new environment makes a big difference, but that doesn't mean that I'm sold on him yet.
But can you say he's playing good? He beat the crap out of whoever State, and then this week against Pittsburgh, he threw for 125 yards and a pick. Like, that's not good. If Dylan Gabriel had that stat line, we'd be effing losing our minds. Losing our minds. And then if somebody said, no, Dylan Gabriel played good, you would smack that person. He did not have a good game this week.
I think he's beating the teams he's supposed to beat.
Yeah.
That's my point.
I mean,
That's where I'm at with it.
PG, if you would have said this, if you would have said the same thing you're saying about a UCF after the Texas game, then I would have said, okay, I could see it, because I think that, as much praise as everybody is giving SMU, UCF is a SMU-like team, right? Rice Plumlee, they're going to have some good athletes. Gus Malzahn is still there as a coach, but that offense is just as gadgety as the next. So I think that would be a nice comp for them, and I think that would be possibly a game where you say, oh, okay, this could be a letdown game, because just after the Texas game, the emotions are high, all the rest of that stuff. Even coming home, it's still a game that you can say, yeah, you can put in that category. But I just think Cincinnati, I think we're going to be up for that one. And, yeah.
Wait, is Travis saying that the Cincinnati game is 11 a.m.? It's already been announced? I didn't see that. That's not, I'm not saying Oklahoma's not going to win it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying this is a game in previous years. They'll go in 11 a.m. They will lose that game. Like, that's just historically what they do. I want to see them go in there and take care of business before I will say, hey, Oklahoma's going to roll through the schedule. They're going to. Yeah. I predicted two losses on Oklahoma's schedule this year. I said it's probably going to be TCU or BYU in Texas. Now I don't believe it's TCU or BYU. If it's not one of those teams, and it could be somewhere else, and it could be that Cincinnati game. That's just how I feel. It feels like that game could be a setup for Oklahoma. First Big 12 game. We know the Big 12 hasn't been favorable in terms of calls for Oklahoma. I don't like the feeling of that game. It gives me a bad feeling.
All these comments.
Okay, so yeah, Boomer be out. Boomer be on it, man. He be cracking me up with them jokes.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it announced anywhere.
I'm actually August 15th. The All Bearcats fan nation site for SI says that it'll be noon on Fox. Brett McMurphy tweeted it out August 15th.
If Travis is saying it, I believe it. Travis is a part of the media. I'm sure he gets a heads up before it gets actually.
Can we please just pray? Can we all just have a moment? I know you just said that where the game would be at, Jay, but can we all just have a moment and just all hold hands and pray that it's not on ESPN Plus?
It's on Fox.
Yeah, I
hate
Fox.
It's on Fox.
They ain't gonna put Oklahoma on ESPN Plus, but once a year they only go.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't. Yeah, it's terrible. It is terrible. It is terrible. man.
It's the one game that nobody really cares that much about. So
Like, you
I mean,
never
even
know
though
where the
that game
camera's
should
gonna
have
be
been
at.
on TV.
You never know where the camera's going to be at. I'm like, man, the game is going on. The
No.
camera's still on the student section. Like, what's going on?
Can I point out that anytime that they just go to random fan cam, it is always on some chick who has the smallest top on possible, and it like takes a second, and then all of a sudden the guy starts zooming out. I noticed I'm watching the game with my mom and my family yesterday, and the guy was like zoomed out and then like zoomed slowly back in, and I was like, does he knows he's on air, right? Like he knows this isn't right. It's not like she was like going crazy and the chick was just standing there.
Bro, I just, man.
So what we've got to hope for is that Cincinnati walks into this game undefeated as well, because there could be a flex.
Sure.
If they beat Miami, Ohio, 6 p.m. on Saturday, they could flex that game and move it, which is why it's showing TBD on like most of the sites like ESPN and Fox and everything. It's showing TBD because there is a chance it could get flexed if it ends up becoming a marquee game. So that's something we got to hope for, is that both teams walk in 3-0 and we get a chance to get that moved around, because a 12 o'clock game in Cincinnati, I don't know how I feel about, but I may like it a little bit better on I would like it better in the afternoon or evening. That would be so much more fun.
Hank's got it. The comment of the night right there.
Yep, I totally agree with him. Yeah, Rick McMurray reported it, and it's on his side as well. Yeah, that's actually what I just looked at, Travis. I just pulled that up a second ago, that the Brick McMurphy had tweeted it out back in August that's that. But he did say if no games flex to other networks, times are Eastern. So there's a chance it could flex. We just got to see if it flex.
Yeah, well, because, I work at ABC, and obviously if I don't get to sell the game, I know who the hell it is. And when they announced Cincinnati, I would already made a lot of money. So I had to go back to my clients. But long story short is, it still shows as something, because Fox hasn't declared the other games yet.
Yeah, so it'll show TBD all of it's declared. And
I'm surprised Fox ain't trying to put Colorado on big.
Exactly, PG. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, Fox has already put Colorado on their 3 weeks. They're going back this week.
They're going to milk that cow as much as.
Oh my God! Yes, they are, because people are going to watch it. It's the thing to watch.
Wait, hold on, that's the USC week, right?
Yes, so that's gonna be a night game.
I guarantee you,
that's a night game.
I guarantee you, they're waiting to see if that becomes an undefeated matchup for game day.
Yeah, it'll be a night game. Game day. Actually, Big Noon's definitely going to be there. They'll probably take that before
Big Noon
ESPN gets a chance.
ESPN. Yeah,
I don't know if you want. You probably could see both.
Somebody's done it before, right? It was there for Texas and Alabama last year. I thought both were there.
That's a good question. Go ahead, Coop. What's your question?
Would you guys rather play a 9:15 p.m. Central Standard kickoff or a Friday game?
Friday.
Asking for a friend.
I'm sorry. Say this one more time. Is a 9 p.m. game?
I wanted to bring it up with Oklahoma State kicking off at 9:15 p.m. Central Standard. Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously, I know they went to Arizona, but I think I'm getting too old to like get jacked up at 9:15 OU kickoff. So I would much rather watch it on a Friday night. So that's my question. Would you rather watch a Friday night game or a 9:15 kickoff? That's not like the Alamo Armor Bowl or something like that.
I think the problem though is it's for a state like Oklahoma State, where they can at least fill their stadium. I think it's hard to sell a Friday night game because people got to get out of school. So you would still have to make it like what, 7:30, 8 o'clock game for kids to be able to get there.
Oklahoma State fans have dropped out of school usually around 6th or 7th grade.
I mean, it's a fair point.
And they all have vendors.
I mean, it's out of pocket, but he's right.
Okay, I haven't seen this many like people comment this poorly on me since my take with peanut butter and jelly on tortillas. Like, what's going on here? I have pissed some people off today.
You really have. And so here's everybody. Here's that tweet that Brent put out on August 15th that the Oklahoma game will be at noon on Fox. Yeah, they're not sharing it. Am I not transitioned yet? There you go.
There we go.
Transitioned. There we go. Sorry, I forgot I'm in studio mode. Anyway, for those that are asking, here it is. Brent McMurphy tweeted it out on August 15th. This game will be at noon on Fox. But it's if not any of the games flex, which is the reason why everything still shows TBD, because if this game is premiere or there's another premiere game they want to have there, they may flex them up to be at noon and move us down. So it just depends on what is going on and who they believe is big. So Travis is spot on. It was announced back in August. The question is who do they want on television? So that's always the question. It's about money, baby. It's about money. Y'all know that.
That lineup is ass cheeks right there. Like,
It
I'm
really
not gonna
is.
lie, there is nothing sexy about that lineup at all.
Factual. Oh, Ohio State and Purdue.
Oh boy. Well, the good thing for Ohio State is that who was that? Brom ain't there no more.
Go back. Go back.
Go back
You
to
guys
this
are
game.
you're missing a freaking gem.
Hold on. Because Ohio State at Purdue would be a gym.
Wait a second. There's something wrong here with this.
You're missing a gem, and I'll cut the suspense. Iowa versus Northwestern, the who lost
Yes!
the Bowl. Winner plays Iowa State.
Oh man,
Bro,
that is beautiful. Hold a second.
They're going to be talking about like Make-A-Wish kids or something on that broadcast, because there's no way in hell that football talk is going to be worthwhile.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at
Hey,
this
man,
one.
Kate
That is
McNamara,
November
man.
4th. November 4th?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's woo, that's going to be an intriguing one. That's going to be like 10 to like 7. And it's going to be all field goals and safeties.
And
Well,
snow.
so-
And snow.
That's an interesting.
No.
So how are y'all feeling about Iowa's offense this year? Because they got the new offensive coordinator. They've got Cade McNamara. Do you think they're going to be able to top 35 points at all this season?
I mean, they've scored touchdowns in 2 consecutive games, and I'll give that to them. But it was crazy because they had the break-in during week 1. It was like, it looks like Iowa found an offense, and like 7 minutes in, they're up 14-0. And then I checked in, it was like something in the fourth quarter, and it was 17 at that point. So I was like, no, they don't.
Yeah, hold a second. Let me point something out to Frightening here. He's telling me it's wrong because Purdue is playing Ohio State and Minnesota. Yes, they play them on different weeks.
Different weeks.
November 11th. All the dates are right here.
It's okay.
No, it's not the same day, my boy. They're
Ohio
different
State
days.
was
Say September 23rd, September 30th, August, October 7th, the 14th, 4th, and 11th. Yeah, and no, it's cool. Yeah, I missed the same thing. I was asking the same question. I was like, wait a minute. They got them playing like 2 people at once. Now, it's the schedules. It's multiple days. So, yeah. And Kim with the zinger of the day. Not yet. He's suspended. We're not talking about Mel Tucker, though. We're not going into the Mel Tucker stuff. We're not going to talk about Levy. Ain't no reason to even jump into those 2 things. Here, we're trying to have fun and not be all sad.
By Job to Oklahoma then? Because I saw Travis Davidson tweeting about that earlier.
Whoa, Travis. Explain yourself, sir.
Well, he just said that By Job should come back to Oklahoma. And
I mean, he's not an Oklahoman, and if I'm
Correct.
taking players in the portal, I prefer to take linemen, not edges. I think we're good on the edge.
Yeah. Guys, everybody kind of forgot because of game day. We got Nigel Smith, and that power line continues to grow, and I think something else is coming soon.
Oh yeah, we got a commitment coming up on Wednesday that we're waiting to see, and I'm just curious to see if it's gonna go down. We have our guy Danny Okoye, the Oklahoma edge, is doing his commitment Wednesday at 6:30 in Bixby. We'll have, of course, a watch party. I'm doing a live watch party here. No, I won't be going up there. I got to work.
Is
AJ.
this coming Wednesday or next?
Yeah.
Wednesday?
This coming Wednesday, the 20th. He moved his commitment up to September 20th. He put an announcement out there. Let me go find it.
wait, but that's not this.
This Wednesday.
That's not
This
this-
Wednesday's the
Sorry,
13th.
next Wednesday. Next Wednesday. My bad.
Boy.
Yeah, my bad. Next Wednesday. My bad. Not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday. My bad. Yeah, I was off on that.
Hey-
But he's doing it
hey,
on
Jay.
the 20th. What's up?
Okay, we're gonna do a watch party, right?
Yep.
You know what's annoying about like during watch parties is like when they did the stone, like, that you couldn't hear anything. You couldn't really like hear any of the interviews, and we were going crazy, right? And then Nigel, people are tweeting and putting in the comments like, hey, he committed already. And we're like, what? Well, hey, I got the word that what if we actually brought the dude whose watch party we're watching on to the show, and he just hooked up with us right after.
I like that. I like that idea.
All right.
Like right after he does it. If we can make that happen, I'd say we have to work on that. But there you go. Makes an announcement Wednesday the 20th, which is a week after. And yeah, he'll be streaming on Instagram. So of course I will pull it up for those that don't have IG. We'll do it live here. We'll hang out. So basically in a week, we'll be able to check it out and see this man make his decision. So he moved it up from October. He's already dropped his top 3, which was Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Texas. And yeah, we're gonna see what it look like.
And he's gonna come on air right after.
Yeah, we're gonna convince him to come on here, especially if he picks Oklahoma. If he doesn't pick Oklahoma, I'm gonna tell him he can't come on here.
Well, no, you like Tennessee too, so if he goes to Tennessee.
Well, that's a fair point. I don't mind, and I know the Vols are working hard on him.
Yeah, hey, come on.
Hey, what's going on with your Tennessee Volunteers?
Man, Austin P, man.
Yeah, that defense ain't all it's cracked up to be there in Knoxville, man. That's just ain't what it is. And Travis is saying the same thing as UPG. Why does Cincinnati feel like Kansas State?
Okay, so
I think Trav's behind.
Yeah, okay, so let me explain myself very clearly here about this, and we're going to leave it here. 1, if it's an 11 o'clock game, that just scares me. Like 11 o'clock games starting off Big 12 play, I do not like them. It feels like
is it Big 12 play? It's like a non-conference game.
This is a Big 12 game. Like you can have Big 12 refs there. They're not going to call the game in favor of Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
Let's just call that out right now. They're not going to do it. Let's just set
a spade a spade.
Yeah, let's set ourselves up for that. Like we're not going to get any calls in that game. So no, I mean, really, like I think Emory Jones he's that type of quarterback where I feel like he shouldn't look like Tom Brady, but Oklahoma's going to make him look like Tom Brady. That's what they've done in the past, and I want to see Oklahoma shut it down. I want to see them make the stops and finally not have a quarterback look like that. That's what I want to see. If I can do that, I'll feel much better.
Yep, and Okoye's last visit is with Texas. He's going to go to that's this weekend, so he's going to the Wyoming game. Y'all better dominate against Wyoming. I'll say that, Brody. Make sure y'all dominate that game because I think that's the game. His last visit is that one, and I think he canceled everything else. But Chris got to talk noise about Milton. That's just his favorite thing to do. That's his favorite punching bag. I'm not even gonna go back and forth with him on Joe Milton. So we're gonna. Yeah, because we'll just talk about Spencer Sanders. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. We're gonna put this
talk about
bow on
Spencer Sanders all day.
No, we definitely ain't talking about Spencer Sanders on here.
Did you?
Not Sanders. I'm not saying Spencer Rattler. My bad. We ain't talking Sanders either. I don't need to talk about either one of them. Either one of them needs my attention.
Did nobody enjoy what happened? What happened to old Jimbo Fisher here this weekend?
Oh, that was incredible.
Called it.
No, cool. I'm sorry, but I don't care about Jimbo Fisher. I saw that happening. Can we talk about Joey McGuire and the reigning Big 12 champions? Everything runs through Lubbock, boys. Yes.
Oh my God, I love that. Who was that? Who was that? who was talking about that? Frightening. Frightening said that. He said, yeah. Frightening pointed out how Lubbock, everything runs through Lubbock, and it's like, Lubbock, they got destroyed. We talked about them earlier, Chris. We talked about Tech getting destroyed. We talked about, that was you, Frightening. We talked about Tech getting destroyed, losing at home. We talked about Baylor losing at home to Utah, in which I think Utah's a better team anyway. Winningham knows what he's doing, but Jimbo Fisher is everything we expected him and his staff to be there at Texas A&M because I don't get why people keep buying into that fish oil. I just don't get it.
My uncle brought up a great point this morning. You see all those 5 stars on the line, right?
That's all they got is 5 stars on the line.
You don't see them dominate though.
No, that's where 5 stars go to die. You didn't know that?
they don't
they just
really
forget how to play
dominate.
football. They got to play football there.
Now I will say this. In that same conversation, we brought up this point was the fact that you could definitely tell that's a Petrino offense because last year with Jimbo, they don't score 33 points in that game. That's probably a 45-17 game, to be quite frank with you. So
Yep, I can see
Yeah.
that. And yeah, Euromark is crying right now. Hope he's
Yeah.
in tears.
Here's the thing: is all those defensive linemen got their bread already. They're there. They just gotta put decent stuff on film. But I'm not seeing a lot of names. I don't see no David Hicks in the box score.
Hicks is in like the 4 deep. I don't think
Yeah.
he's not in the 3 deep. So yeah,
But I saw LB Overton. He was I think he had 2 tackles. I mean, yeah, it's that transfer portal is about to open up again. But now, after do some of these kids start getting a name for themselves as just chasing that NIL money, and do certain coaches want to mess with them?
that's a good question.
Well, and I think they're going to get an opportunity to explain themselves, though, in the transfer portal. If they hit, they're going to be like, hey, why did you go to Texas A&M? Like, I mean, I'm sure that question's going to get asked. And if they say it was for the money,
I mean,
there's your answer. I mean, I'm sure these coaches have a way of sifting that out.
I'm curious
I'm
to see
saying,
how. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, if David Hicks calls, that question doesn't get asked. They know why he picked A&M. I mean, he's the one who hand delivered the message to the coaching staff. I love you guys. I try to commit. I mean, it's all that stuff. And I mean, they showed him what he meant to them, and then he took that spot down there. So I don't know. I'm coupling it with they didn't do anything on the field. And then the defensive linemen that are the stars that are playing, they're not doing anything. So if you're not beating that guy out, like, what's the story right there?
That's a good question. Okay.
Oh, by the way, Brett McMurphy is reporting that Mel Tucker is fired.
Everybody's reported it already. They just haven't.
Yeah.
It's been reported that they was fired. Then it was reported that he's in suspension until. I put it like this: the formality is they have to suspend him without pay before they can officially fire him. They have to go through the investigation, but all roads lead to him being fired after the investigation's done.
Yeah, he gone.
So yeah, that's basically what that's going to look like. So yeah, the Friday night games is going to be horrible. Especially the TCU one is the one I know we're going to have. We're going to have that one. So
maybe that one could get moved too. Last year we were supposed to play Iowa State on a Thursday or Friday night, and he got moved to Saturday.
But the high school season is done by then though, isn't it? Isn't it done by Thanksgiving?
November 24th, yeah, and maybe so.
So yeah, I think that's probably going to be the plan. But I definitely don't want to, play no Friday night.
Hey
games.
Jay,
we're not the pack. What's up?
Bot, you need to tell the bot to quit leaving comments for the rest of the night.
All right, I'm going to kick the bot out.
I'm just kidding.
The bot's got to stop working. I got to move that up to 10 to 15 minutes now. But anyway, besides that, we were going for an hour 45, a lot longer than I thought we would. We're going to wrap this bad boy up with a bow. And thank y'all for pulling up. Go around the horn. Let the people know where to find you. We'll start off with you, PG. Then we'll go to you, Chris.
Yeah, y'all can find me on YouTube, PG Show, same thing, all the podcast platforms. And to answer Kim's question, I think you still get Winery. McKinley, I think, is pretty much out at this point. I think there'd have to be something pretty drastic down there at A&M to happen. And then Hicks, it's really not a flip. You'd have to get him out of the portal, and I don't know if he's going to hit the portal. So,
yeah, it's always the best questions. They're going to hit the portal, and I
will
know
say this,
about it
though.
either.
I'd be buying stock in Oklahoma recruiting, though. I'd be buying stock there.
Buy a lot of it. We're battling it up. Chris, let people know where to find you.
Horns Down Podcast on YouTube, Horns Down Pod on Twitter, Chris with a K on Twitter as well. Frightening, I'm still waiting for that DM. Just DM me, man. Send me a message, man, on Twitter. Let's get you on the show, man. It's me and you. Let's go ahead and hash it out, especially coming off a big win. I invite you, man. This Thursday. No better time. Come on, man. Come on. I've been
He won't do
calling
it.
you
I've
out for the
invited
last
him on
like
too.
3 or 4
He won't
weeks,
do it.
man.
Y'all are too much. Y'all can fight that out later. You know where to find me and Coop. We always here on Fair Sports. Appreciate y'all pulling up. We'll chop it up soon. Peace.